Okay, everybody, today I want to show you the proper way to really load your caulk gun, get it ready to go, how to open up the hole on it, and then I'll do a different video on the proper way to caulk. So I've got all my tools here that I need. A few things that you need when you're loading your caulk gun is obviously your dripless caulk gun. This is standard depending on where what position you are in the company, depends on how many of these you have and what styles they are. But this is the average one that we use for everybody in the company. This is your standard yellow dripless caulk gun. Their logo is, if you don't, or their saying is, if it's not yellow, it's not dripless. I fully believe that. Buy these. This is what is mandatory on your job description. You'll notice that, and every caulk gun has a cutting area here. It's a really, like that, to cut something with this is like if you are out of all the options that you have, that is a horrible way to cut your caulk tube. You won't be able to get the preciseness that you want to get out of it from cutting it from this hole. Doing this kind of stuff is just never a good idea, although it is supplied there. So disregard that, act like that's not there. We always do our caulk tubes with the razor blade, and that's why these are standard on your job description as well for your tool list. Just your standard razor blade. If you'll get in close here, I'll show you exactly how to cut this. So there's multiple ways that a tube of caulk can be cut depending on what you're applying. This particular instance, we're only going to cut a small tip, and we're actually going to cut it at an angle so that when I put it down between the baseboard and the wall, I get the proper angle, the angle that I need. And so what I do is I put my thumb on the back side of it. Obviously, I'm pulling the blade towards me. You never want to push this way. You might slip, and you just have more control. And get your finger. You have more control when you're pulling it. Put your finger on the blade. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up at an angle, and I'll do a little small area so that you can see. See how it's cut at a slight angle like that? Now that's not enough to get the caulk out, but I'm just showing that as an example. For this particular instance, my gap's not that big. I'm gonna come down about right here, and I'm still gonna cut it at an angle. Maybe because I'm a little OCD, I like to knock off that little top piece there. But you can see that's a good angle. If you look inside of here, you can see how much caulking is going to be able to come out of this tube. If you cut it too deep, you're going to be putting way too much caulking on the wall, and it's really going to give you a hard time with cleaning up. So the smaller that you do, what your best bet is, if you're just getting used to this, start with a smaller opening and see how that works, and then open it up a little bit more. There are some applications where you wouldn't even do that big of a hole. You would do a much smaller hole. But if you start too big right out the gate, then you're actually just wasting a tube of caulk if you started way low and you got too much caulking coming out. So start small, cut a little bit off at an angle, try it. If it doesn't work, cut a little bit more. But we're talking about fractional amounts. And then your next thing you do, obviously, with the caulk gun, it's got teeth at the bottom. Those teeth need to be facing down. When they're facing up, it doesn't move this at all. Your unit's not moving. Your teeth have to be facing down because the mechanism inside of there is what pulls it together, just like that. All right? So we'll load it. Obviously, when you load it, you'll be aiming area face down. Sometimes your caulking will have, not usually, it's more of commercial grade, but sometimes your caulking will have a silver barrier inside of there. That's what this little area is on the caulk tube. You'll actually put it down inside of your caulk hole and puncture that area down there. Most caulks that we use for residential homes do not have a barrier in there. So you'll load it, obviously angled down, and then you give a couple little pumps until you feel some type of resistance. Don't want to pump it out, especially if you're not ready to start yet. And now you're ready to go. You're fully loaded. The thing is in there. We're good to go. And our next video will be how to caulk. That is how to load and prepare your caulk gun.